Speaking of culture, Lamar Jackson seemingly fits in the Atlanta Falcons culture, also in many other cultures that are around the league. As soon as he's given the non-exclusive tag, which we know other teams are able to come and get him, and we want to break through that process here in a second. But first, I want to know, why do you think all these teams came out so quickly publicly saying we are not in the Lamar Jackson race, even though they are certainly in the quarterback-needed race, and they've looked into other veteran quarterbacks of the past? Is this like a message you think that's being sent about guaranteed contracts? Lombo, is that how you read it as a man who spent, 60 years in the NFL, or 50 years in the NFL? Honestly.
Well, I think it's lion season in the NFL right now. Like, how can the Atlanta Falcons with a straight face say that they were all in on Deshaun Watson last year and say they're not in on Lamar Jackson?
That's what Pac-Man said, too.
How can Carolina say that they're not in on Lamar Jackson? First of all, Ryan Poles, the general manager of the Chicago Bears, says he has 3 number ones on the table, according to what Peter King wrote about in his column, that teams will move up and he can get 3 number 1 picks. He can get the flip in the first and then 2 more ones. Why would you pay all that for an unproven player when you can go get Lamar? Now, look, the contract becomes tough because there's no agent involved here, so it's a tough situation. What the Ravens did by putting the non-exclusive on is they took an advertise. They said, call us, make a deal. And I think all these teams that said they're not interested, when they were interested in Watson last year, what message are they sending to their fan base? I mean, we were interested in Watson last year, but we're not interested in this guy. This guy won MVP. The other guy missed football. Like, how does that make any sense? So I think a lot of it is just posturing, and a lot of it is a message to the Ravens that they're not going to engage, trying to get the price of 2 number 1s down. Remember, when they put that tag on them, you don't have to pay 2 number 1s. You can negotiate a deal. So it could be less than 2 number 1s. And I think that's what we're in a posturing mode of the NFL. We're not interested in Lamar. Frankly, who wouldn't be? Like, I know it's going to cost a lot of money. I know the guarantee's a problem, but there's still solutions.
Pac-Man has a question for you.
Hey, Mike, do you think if he had an agent, do you think we would be still talking about this?
No, I think it would be. I think he's hurt himself. Look, his mom, he trusts his mom, but you got to find somebody who's confidant who can do this. Agents broker deals. Dave Dahn, the agent for Aaron Rodgers, is going to broker that deal with the Jets. That's how this deal gets. That's how it all gets happened. And they also understand the value of the player in the open market. Now, especially when it comes time when there's a lot of moving pieces in this Lamar Jackson thing. We got to satisfy Baltimore. We got to get the guarantee, and we got to find a trade partner. That's a lot of things that have to happen behind the scenes that you got to understand the National Football League to make it happen. And Lamar's mom, I don't know if she does that. I think it's unfair that he's in this. He should be out and high. Look, pay a flat fee. I don't know what the deal is, but you need somebody to broker this a little bit. You need somebody to do this so that you can get what you need to get out of it.
See, Lombo, because I've called you and asked for advice, I take a lot of pride in the fact that I represent myself. Like, at this stage of my life, I take a lot of pride in it. In the business conversations, I have the relationships with the people at the business to do it. I think I understand the business a little bit. But at some points, too, like, there's a time where you have to look and be like, good business is probably for me not to be the one handling this particular situation, because Lamar is in a very unique, this is a billion dollar industry, and you're talking about 31 billionaires, okay? So if you're going in there alone, you're up against it immediately. Yeah. Like you are up against a lot of power and a lot of potential sway and everything like that. As somebody that is one of the loudest advocates for, like, people need to understand what's going on for themselves and people need to do it, like an NFL deal, if I was a quarterback, I don't know if I'm the guy that is the right person to be doing that. And that's smart business to make that decision, I think. Like, that is something I feel like Lamar, because I think Lamar's probably a great businessman. I think his mom probably incredibly intelligent when it comes to business and being able to handle it. But there's some places where you just ain't got a shot at the table.
Because now one of them can call the other 32 teams before free agency, or agent can call whoever he wants.
What are you thinking?
We making deals. They making deals behind the scene. I don't think Lamar mom have the relationship to call the Falcons and be like, hey, look, They trying to give us 170, but what y'all got before free agency hit?
Yes.
Because agents have those relationships that go behind the scenes. That's why we call them agents.
Well, how about right here too? Like, secret agents, special agents, sports agents. The fucking here in Indianapolis, the combine. Like, did they have a house set up here to like meet with people and potentially make a deal happen? Like, that's the shit that's taking place at the NFL. That's how they do their business. So acknowledging that that's how they do business and being like, oh, I need somebody that's able to fucking figure out this game is good business. Like, in my eyes personally. And I think you know this, and I'm excited to get your kind of take on the whole thing.
Well, I think the other element we're missing here is they control the narrative, right? How does all these guys get stories? How do you think they get stories about what's happening in the league? They get planted. A lot of these stories are planted. We're planting a story so we could say something else. We saw that the Falcons planted a story. We're not interested. The Miami planted a story. Well, Lamar needs to plant some stories too, and it's hard to plant a story when you don't have somebody helping you plant. Agents are great at creating what we call non-elements, what we call a non-negotiable, something that's not really important that you make important. And I think he needs to have that. He needs to control the narrative a little bit from his side. We don't hear his side. We only hear the Ravens side, who are very good in the PR battle. They're very good at that. I mean, they handle that really well, and we're missing that element.
Hey,
and
that's
how
a
does
big
this all get tied together?
Hey, that's a big part of it because you win the mob, you win Rome. Right?
That's right. You got to control the narrative. Like, all right, and so how does these, and the other thing is too, we can't underestimate this. You pointed out these 31 billionaires. You go after Lamar, you're changing your franchise. You're basically saying we're all in for 5 years. And that has to be a marriage and a convincing of a lot of people coming together that we're all going to do this together because he's a great player who could change our franchise. And this isn't signing some wide receiver or trading for Calvin Ridley. This is an organizational shift completely. And you got to get everybody behind that. And that takes somebody who can do alignment, who can connect all three things together. And I think he's missing that. I really do. I think he's hurting himself in the long term about that. Brokering a deal is more than just saying, I want $200 million guaranteed.
Yeah, it's a lot of shit. It's a lot of, as somebody that's been through it a few times, just because I wanted to learn what it was like, and I've had success, and I'm a great card player, so I think that helps me out in the entire thing. And I have great people that help me out, like this man who, it was 20 minutes before I went into that one negotiation where I called you, and you fucking gave me like a motivational speech. I will forever be grateful for that. I want to let you know that.
Well, I think you understand the business, right? And so you didn't have to get traded. You were negotiating. It was a straight line. This is a little bit of a curvy road that you got to navigate, and you got to be able to see beyond the road. I mean, the secret to all victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious. And in this case, you got to see the non-obvious.
Bars! Hey, dude, that was awesome there, Lombo.